Hi, good evening, everyone. Um, this is 7 p.m. West African time, and it's 7 p.m. here in Nigeria. So, if you've just joined us from anywhere around the world, around the continent of Africa, you are welcome to the second edition of Tech Clinic. We had our first edition on Friday, and we had Zipeta Nabwala who showed us or talked to us about UI and UX design. Tonight we would be having another guest. She is a tech designer. She's also an illustration designer, and she loves to share ideas about tech through her contacts and her content. Stay with us as we welcome Ofon Bassey. She's here to join us, but she's going to be here soon. I'd like for you to tell me your name and where you're connecting from if you've just joined us this evening. I'll be waiting to read from you in the comment section. All right, while we wait for our guest to join us, a quick recap of what we were able to see from our first tech clinic session with Zipeta. That was on Friday. She talked to us about user interface and user experience. She was able to share with us how that her inspiration and her drive to go into user interface came from just meeting challenge disabled people who could not hear, and then she thought of something to help them, how to help them with visuals. And then we were able to also see that you can go into any aspect of tech, just get inspired, find a problem to solve, find a problem you want to solve, and then you dive into it by setting your goals and then reaching out to your target audience. All right, we're still waiting for our guest. She's going to be here shortly. Meanwhile, I said if you've just joined us in this session, please leave us your name and where you are connecting from in the comment section. We'll be glad to welcome you on this second edition of Tech Clinic. We actually are having a bit of technical issues connecting with our guest, and please be patient with us. We're trying to connect with our guest. She's been trying from her end, but the network seems to be poor. But hopefully, we'll do that soon, almost immediately. Please bear with us. All right. So part of what Zipeta was telling us on Friday about user interface was that as someone who is into user interface or into user experience, you have to come up with visuals that appeal to your clients. You have to come up with visuals that captivate your client or just any person there on the internet who might want to look or have a feel of what you do. And she also gave us some tools. She explained that you don't really need much in terms of capital to become a UI or UX designer. She told us some free tools you could use like Canva, um, Biosemic. She also talked about Photoshop, which is popular. And then if you decide to become a UI or UX designer, or it's something you are interested in, you can actually start off by learning on YouTube, or you can find pages that offer these trainings, or you could also find learning apps like Coursera, Udemy, Allison that offers some of these trainings. And the most interesting part of it is that some of these trainings are offered for free. So you don't really always have to pay for them. If you remember what I said on Friday, tech is something everybody should learn because of the way the world is moving. You would need tech basically in everything you do, in every sector you are in they will need a tech person. So if you leverage on that and decide to learn any aspect of tech, you're actually doing yourself good and you are doing the world around you good. All right, give us a minute. Let's see how we can be able to connect with our guests. Be back. Okay, our guest is here. She's been able to connect. Hi, Ofon. Good evening. Can you hear me? Hi, Ofon. Can you hear me? Oops, let's try again. We have some bit of technical issues from this end, and we're trying to see how we can connect with our guest. All right, everyone. Like I said, we are having a bit of technical issues connecting with our guest, but we are on it and she will join us shortly. And like I said earlier, if you've joined us in this session, please, we'd like for you to introduce yourself in the comments and I'll be glad to welcome you. All right, I was saying something about regarding our session on Friday, how that passion for what you do is very, very important, and how that just identifying a problem that you can solve can help you make impact. Now, I'm making reference to the Peter story. I'm making reference to this story so much because it touched me. If you can remember clearly what she said it was just an interaction with a deaf person in a hotel where she had gone for a program, and she discovered she could not interact very well with this deaf person, and that was what pushed her to want to find a solution for people like that, and she went into UI and UX. So what I'm trying to say is there is a problem you can solve out there. There is a problem you can solve out there. It doesn't always have to be, something massive or something so big, but there is a problem you can solve. And when you put in your best to solve that problem, that is how you make impact. That is how you become a solution. All right, our guest is here. Let's see. Hello, Ofon. Good evening. Can you hear me? Oops, we lost her again. The network is really poor. All right, so back to what I was saying about solving problems. There is a problem you can solve. There are times when you feel as though you need to have one big business idea, one big branding idea before you can shake the world around you, or before you can do something really meaningful or impactful. But it starts with the little things. Come to think of someone who thought about the POS machine. Before then, it used to be ATMs. We go, we queue up for minutes, waiting for our turn to just retrieve cash from the ATM. But imagine what the person who thought of POS has done for the world today. Just in a minute, you can go to a POS and then get your money very quickly. So that's what I'm talking about, looking for a problem to solve. If you feel you don't have a job or you're looking for a business, I give you a secret to it today. Look around your environment. It could be your classroom, it could be your office, it could be your workplace, it could even be a random place where friends go to hang out. Just look around carefully and deeply. You're definitely going to find a problem that needs solution. And then you're going to think through how to be a solution to this problem. And that is how you make money. That is how you make impact. When you find a problem that you should solve, and you invest time into finding the solution to that problem, and then you begin to solve that problem, you can now decide if you want to make money or if you want to make impact. Either ways, you are changing the world around you. Our guest is back. Let's try. Let's see. Hello, Ofon. Good evening. Can you hear me now?
Hi, good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes, loud and clear. Welcome. We're sorry about the technical and
Thank
network
you.
issues. Welcome.
Yeah, I really
We
want
can't
to
see.
apologize about that.
Yes, fine. Welcome. We're glad to have you.
Thank you.
Your camera is off. Is it possible we see you? At least let's say hi to our guest and let's have a feel of who we are interacting with. Is it possible? Hi, are you still here? Hi, Ofon. Can you hear me? Mm. Oops, we lost our guest again. But hopefully she gets to join us soon, soonest, so we can proceed to having our session with her. So I was talking about problem solving as a way to identify how you can make impact in the world. And this is not just applicable in business, this is also applicable in tech, like the Becca story that I love so much and I'm always making reference to. Another way you can identify an area you want to go into is passion. So if you're not seeking out to solve a problem, you can look into your passion to find out where you can fit in or where you can help the society. For example, you discover that you like storytelling, you pass messages of motivation via storytelling or content writing. It's an area to venture into. You discover that you like visuals, you like graphics, you like to tell a story by design. Then UI and UX is also an area you should venture into. So aside finding a problem or locating a problem that you should solve, understanding your passion is also another pointer to what you should be doing or how you should be making impact. You understand? So when you find your passion, you can now begin to align it and then find the people who need the things you are offering, and that is how impact is made. Let's see if we can be able to connect with our guest. All right, while we wait for our guest, let's continue what we're saying about identifying your passion. So there are many ways you can identify your passions. One of which is to look inwards. What do you love doing? What do you find ease doing? What are you happy doing? What can you do over and over again without complaining? What can you do even when you are tapped from your sleep and then it comes off so easily for you? That's one way to identify passion. What gives you fulfillment? What do you do and then when while at it or when you are done with it, you feel happy with yourself, you feel fulfilled, you feel that yes, you've actually done something. Another way to identify your passion or what you are good at is to ask the people around you, the people you trust, your parents, your mentors. You can ask them, what do you think I am good at? Because sometimes our passions, they occur subtly that we can't really identify them. You can't really say this and this is what I enjoy doing. But the people around you who have watched you over time can actually see and say that this person is good at this, or they can say, I see how gracefully and easily you do this thing, and I think you're good at it. All right, our guest is back. Hi, Ofon.
Hi, how are you doing?
I'm
Hi, good
fine.
evening. I'm so sorry
Welcome.
about the whole up and down, coming in and going out of the meeting. I didn't expect my network to be this bad. It was working very fine, like some minutes before 7, and all of a sudden, nothing is working again. So, sorry about the whole stuff.
So, welcome. I was asking if we could at least see you, at least relate to better with you. But if it's possible.
Sorry. You didn't inform me about the camera, so I wasn't prepared about
Oh,
putting
okay.
on my
Okay,
camera.
that's fine. That's fine. All right, let's dive straight into it. We'd like to meet you. Can you please introduce yourself in the way that you'd like to be introduced?
Okay. My name is Ofon Bassey. Prefer to be called Ofon Bassey because it's easier and shorter and simpler to pronounce. I'm a visual designer and illustrator. I Another thing I do besides that is presently now I'm exploring design teaching or like design education. I'm teaching design and it's been a really nice journey. It's been like 1 month as a design teacher and I would say I think I'm going to be doing it long term. Teaching is quite more interesting than I expected.
Wow.
So all else I do, I host a students podcast. It's called On School Podcast. It's a podcast where we talk about and share stuff about student life, students in tech, student entrepreneurs, student creative. We just talk about students, everything in general, like topics that really resonate a lot with students, and not just students. We used to talk about topics that we know with like graduates to like immediate graduates and stuff like that. But yeah, that's what the podcast is about. So, what else about me? I think one of the most interesting thing about me I like talking about is, but even though I'm a designer, I love writing. I write a lot. I write a lot of articles, content. I'm always writing something almost all the time. And it's one of the things that have helped me build my personal brand as a designer. And yeah, I write articles usually on a monthly basis and I post on Medium articles about my career experience as a designer. That's pretty much about me. I think if you meet me in person, you realize I actually talk too much. So yeah.
Right, that's beautiful. Okay, so let's get into the topic of the day, simplified introduction to illustration. The floor is yours, and we are ready to learn from you.
Okay, thank you very much. So first of all, I want to say I know I'm not seeing the audience also, but I'd like to know, do you like watching cartoons?
Partially, because for me, partially, yes, not all the time, but I enjoy cartoons.
Okay, that's nice. So I like to see. So I'll start with illustration is will I say one of the most accessible design types, or will I say one of the most accessible industries or type of design in the world. Basically, illustration in in a simple term would be drawings that describe certain things, content, or a particular story you want to tell. You can use illustration to tell it, or a particular um, what I say concept or instruction. You can use illustrations to create to tell it. So illustration is basically drawings that help describe content in a more descriptive way, like in a way that is quite more simple and connects. So I'm going to use like a simple example we know very well. You see, when you're, I don't know if you were trying to cross the road, when you're trying to cross the road, you notice the crossroads that is meant for like close to schools or the side of the road that is close to schools. You see those signposts with illustrations of students crossing on it. yellow sign with a black illustration. I don't know if you see things like that on the road. Do you? Are you hearing me?
Yeah, I can hear you. I was saying yes, yes, I've come across that.
Okay, now that's a very good example of illustration. What illustration does is basically to describe things, express content in a more like relatable way, and also make things easier to understand. So I'm so sorry I don't have a slide. This would have been more interesting with a slide, but I had a really, really long day. Not long I came back from church, and that's why no, I don't have a slide to present this to us. But I'll try my best to relate to simple things we see on the road to understand what illustration is. And also to those who love to be illustrators, I'll make it quite easy for us to know how we can start an illustration career. So, as I mentioned earlier, I've been able to explain what illustration is, which is basically the simplest one of the ways to express or describe a content through drawings. So, there are different types of illustrations. We have the first type of illustration is vector illustration. So, a good example of vector illustration is is going to be the illustrations we see on the road, the road signs we see, like the one of school is a vector illustration, like I mentioned earlier. Another type of a vector illustration is most of the times you open a site, you open a software, and you see an illustration describing something. That's a vector illustration. If you know child deck very well, if you know about child deck is a delivery a food delivery brand. You can go online and check their site at the moment. The illustrations you see on their site, those are a good example of vector illustrations. So vector illustrations are basically illustrations that are less like they're not excessively like they don't excessively put out the features of people, but they are able to express things that are being and that's conceptual drawings. Conceptual drawings are more humanly, are more relatable. Those are the ones you've mainly seen animes, the ones you've mainly seen movie animations. They look like human. The one you see in like cartoons, those are more of the conceptual illustrations. I Are you guys following? Oh my, do you get what I'm saying, Chidima? So I am my only audience here, so I believe if you can understand me, I believe that person is understanding from the live stream.
Yeah, I'm with you. And we are all with you. Please go on.
I didn't get you. Sorry, you were off.
Yeah, I am with you. I'm getting you, and then every other audience is getting you as well.
Okay, thank you. So those are two main types of illustration. The other types of illustrations we see the anime illustrations. Anime illustrations are the like excessively expressive ones that are mainly used for animes that are like Japanese illustrations. Then we have illustrations that are like so artistic, they look more like artworks. We have the doodles illustrations, we have icons and more etc etc. Like there are a lot of them. Then one other thing you should know about illustrations are what way and what illustrations can be used for. Where illustration can be used. Illustration can be used during when creating content or in a carousel or in a design. Illustration can be used for describing something in a signpost, or maybe you want to give an instruction in an event. You can use illustrations or icons to identify certain things. So don't go here use illustrations for things like that. You just use illustrations to identify maybe directions to places and so on. Illustration can be used in products. There's how you come into a particular app for the first time and you are being welcomed with illustrations. Maybe say let me use another proof example is Chowdeck. When you go to Chowdeck's site, it's the first thing you see there is an illustration of different significant buildings in states, top Yoruba states, top Igbo states, and top Hausa states. So this tries to describe that this site Oh, sorry about that. So, um,
Oh,
if sorry, can you still hear me? Are you getting me?
yes, loud and clear. Please go on.
Okay, so I was talking about where illustrations can be used. Illustration can be used at intros of an app. This how you want to go in. You want to open an app, and the intros are like with illustrations of things that you can do with that app. Let me use a child deck their
Mhm.
app. When you're opening it, you see illustrations introducing you with things you can do, delivery services and stuff like that. Illustration can be used in sites, home pages of a site. Illustration can be used anywhere. You can use illustrations on to you can use illustration to create patterns for a t-shirt. You can use illustration to create patterns for a brand and so on and so forth. And what other things can illustration be used for? Illustration can be used for wallpaper designs. There are let me there's a building. I think there are some places you go to. I don't know if you guys have been going to Chicken Republic or recent. Like when you enter Chicken Republic, their counter, there is I don't know if you've noticed that Cinema there's on their counter there's like a story told with illustrations. Wow, yeah, I don't know. Have you noticed that in Chicken Republic?
No, I haven't. I haven't.
So next time you go to, I don't know if it's in all the Chicken Republic, but I don't know if it's all their like places, but I know that most of the chicken where I've gone to in my city, I see the sketch, the drawing, the illustration of a particular story told. It's talking about food delivery and so on. I cannot really describe the illustration to you because I've forgotten, but I know that it's there, and I've gone to like two branches here in my state, and I've noticed that drawing there. And those are the things illustration can be used for just wallpaper, just to tell the story in a building. There's how you go to a tech hub and you're seeing illustration of things on the wall. Then you've ever gone to a place like that before. Those are different things illustration can be used for. So for someone who would love to start a career in illustration is illustration design is basically like it's basically an aspect of design. You can transition from being a graphic designer to an illustrator. Me, I transition from being a visual designer to an illustrator. But at the same time, illustration skills can be added to you as a product designer. You can just learn it as an extra skill to use when creating. So that when you want to create your own UI product, you get to work on your illustrations yourself. You can add it to yourself as a add it to your skill set as a brand designer. Maybe we want to work on branding. You can create illustrations yourself. You can add it to your your skill set as a graphic designer when you're working your designs. You can use it. So also you can also have it as a standalone skill. You can be a full-time illustrator. All you do is work on illustrations, comic books, um comic characters, stuffs like that. You can work on okay, I even forgot to mention another place illustration can be used for is for comic books. Most of the places you see illustration that use are in comic books. You even see them in cover art of artists. Most of the like if you look at this guy, this gospel artist, great great man, most of his cover art, even in Limo Blaze, most of his cover art are illustrations. I don't know if you've noticed that. But yeah, those are illustrations. Those are things you can use illustrations. So you can be a full-time illustrator working on things like that. Can be a comic book illustrator and a cover art illustrator. You can also be illustrating. If you're someone that really know how to draw, you can be illustrating people's characters. And there are a lot of like career paths as illustrator. You can be an icon designer where you illustrate icons for software. Can also be a product illustrator where you get to work on illustrations used in certain products or certain websites. So I would say if you're someone that loves people that have advantage over most people in illustration are going to be those that actually love drawing the most. Because if you're actually someone that have the drawing like say talent from scratch from like childhood or something, you have like 50% plus chance to excel in illustration more than someone that doesn't know how to draw. But that doesn't mean that someone doesn't know how to draw doesn't know how to, that won't succeed or will I say won't excel in illustration. So if you're looking at if you're someone that is like just starting out tech and you're looking at a career path to go on to, I recommend illustration if you're someone that is passionate about art you love drawings, you are a fan of cartoons, and you just like, how do they create these things? You're a fan of animations, and you're like, how do they even create these things? Then you should actually exploit yourself to know how they actually create these things and learn about illustration because you will enjoy it. After it's going to be hard, but you actually enjoy it. So another, if you have passion for things like content a lot, like you love content, not just like not video content alone, I'm talking about like descriptive content. You like all these comic books and you like children books, stuff like that. Or will I say you're someone that have passion for children education and you're like, how do I reach children? You can become a children illustrator where you illustrate for children comics and illustrate for like children stuff or you animate children like cartoons and so on and so forth. So those are things that if you're passionate about, you should consider being an illustrator. For those who cannot draw, I'm going to tell you this: I cannot draw. If you see my sketches for my illustrations, you will run because they are nothing close to what what I actually do like as final. But what I'm trying to say is that everybody has an opportunity to do anything you want to do. There's no limitations. You can draw or you cannot draw. You can be a great illustrator.
Okay, while we wait for our guest, we've been talking with Ofon Bassey and she has been simplifying illustration to us. And basically, illustration are just designs or drawings to depict a message. She's talked about how illustration can be used in apps, how they can be used in establishments, buildings, even down to the road signs we see. And it's really important. Illustration is an important aspect of tech because sometimes you can't really draw humans per se, or you can't really show what you mean if you don't have sketches to explain that to people. All right, let's see. Audience, if there's any question, you can drop it in the comment section while we welcome Ofon back to the stage.
Okay, thank you. Sorry, I had to take care of something. That's why I muted my mic. Thank you for what you've explained. That means you're actually following me also, and I'm glad that every other person is following. So I was talking about how I was talking to those who cannot draw and they love illustration. So for me, a little background. I'm a really like say artistic person. I love things that first of all I love cartoons that at my big age I still watch them. I will always prefer them over if someone is sending me a movie to my phone and I go through your phone, I see like cartoons. If like there are four cartoons and maybe like five movies, I prefer to like take the four cartoons and leave the one and maybe say just take one movie. But before I watch that movie, I'll definitely finish just cartoons because I love cartoons. I love animations. I love things that are very, very like they're out of the blues. My best cartoon is Elementals. Elementals is a cartoon that is not acted by humans, it's acted by elements. There's water, there's fire, there is air, and there's earth. To see how weird it is, it's not illustration is not just it's not just about you creating pictures of humans. You can make a chair have mouths and eyes. That's why I love cartoons and those are things that I was like, I like how these things are I love these things. I don't know how they are made, but I just want to try if I can make it. Can I just decide to tell a story just using utensils in the kitchen? Do you get that kind of thing? It doesn't have to be humans. Why can I tell a story maybe using trees or using leaves on the road? Even can cars how do I can I tell a story just using cars on the road? Like cars are the ones speaking in the comics or something. So I that's what really interests me a lot about this about cartoons, the fact that they are not an illustration, they don't have to be humans. Like if you go to Kuda's page on on Instagram, there are certain things that are there on their page, and it's not actually human drawings. They get to create an illustration out of money. Like money has mouth, eyes, nose. Get it? I don't know if you've seen stuff like that before, Chidimabe. Those are things that really, I say, fantasize me. I like those things, and I'm like, I want to do stuff like this too. There are things I love about design because it's very expressive. I can decide to make anything an expression, make an expression out of anything. So that was what really made me like design, like illustration. And I said, okay, let me start creating this thing. Let me start creating this thing myself. But I faced the challenge of I cannot draw. I was like, I cannot draw. Where would I start from? So I reached out to someone I take as my mentor, Ofon. If you're looking at starting illustration, I'll recommend you check out Fort Ubon on LinkedIn, on Instagram, on Twitter. He's a very good illustrator. And I reached out to him. I told him I cannot draw, but I like illustration and I want to illustrate. And he was like, "Do you have to draw? There is a lot of things in this world that you don't have to start an illustration from drawing. You can start an illustration from a reference image. You can start illustration from so you can take a picture and decide to turn into an illustration. What is more interesting is that you illustrating now gives you the power and the ability to express that drawing, that picture in any way you want, in anyhow you want to. And that made me know that I don't have to be a good person, like draw very well to learn how to do great illustration. So I went ahead and started using reference images like maybe I like the picture. I don't want say I have a my present wallpaper at the moment is a picture of a lady holding a phone on a bike. So I saw a picture, something like, for example, like what I'm trying to say, like, so for people that cannot draw, this ways you can create illustration from scratch. So I saw a picture and asked for common, Techno Common 20. So it was looking so cute and fine for me. And I was like, I'm definitely going to illustrate this. I took it into my Illustrator software and I started drawing. I used the reference image to sketch out a lady on a bike. And after I was done with the image, I tweaked it. I tweaked that dressing to what I liked. I tweaked the color to what I liked. I tweaked most of the things in the picture to what I was imagining in my mind. And I came up with an illustration that fitted into like what I wanted to achieve. So those are things you can do as an illustrator, even when you cannot draw. I didn't draw that lady, but that image, I was able to use that image to create something. So for someone that cannot draw, maybe you want to create characters of maybe cars. You can just pick different cars, pictures of cars, and just start sketching from there, start drawing from there, and just have a reference image. Just keep it and just draw. And sketch the reference image. Then, when you're not sketching, you can now manipulate it on your software to anything you want. Just what matters is that you believe you can do it, one, and you practice it. So this is me encouraging those people who cannot draw and they're looking at furthering a career in illustration. You can do it very well. And at the same time, drawing can be learned. Drawing can be learned. You can learn how to draw. I have a person I check out. His name is Sketch Art, Kesh, then Art. He does drawing lessons. So even though I'm not learned fully, but a few things he has taught, I get to learn how to sketch. So that in case I have something in mind, I can sketch it out myself, even without looking for it. In case I don't find a reference image that fits into what I'm looking at illustrating, I get to sketch it myself. So these are things you can do as these are like opportunities you have and like the things you can do to excel as an illustrator who cannot actually draw.
Draw. Okay, okay, Ofon. Because of our time, I'd like for you to quickly tell us the tools that maybe an aspiring inspirator can use and probably where they can start learning from.
Okay. So for tools, I was coming to that now. After telling my backstory, so I want to tell my backstory and make sure that anybody that wants to learn illustrator has learning illustration and coming to the career of illustration has the ability to do it. You can draw or you cannot draw. So for tools you use, for Illustrator, there are different tools, but the top two tools most people you see who do illustrations use is Adobe Illustrator and Procreate. But the only limit with Procreate is that Procreate is only accessible on the Apple like on Apple product, that is MacBook and the iPad. But if you are looking at the other like alternative software. We have Inkscape, we have there are like we have there's this Adobe Photoshop Paint, Adobe Photoshop Sketch, the sketchbook as a software. So there are different softwares you can use. What you have to do is just research more about it to get to find the one. But I'll advise for someone that is starting, I'll say you should start with Adobe Illustrator, because a lot of tutorials out there on that using that people use Adobe Illustrator to draw. And also, I know people use the most a lot is Inkscape, but you can also see tutorials on Procreate. If you have a MacBook, then you can start with Procreate. So also, if you are looking at learning illustrations, if you want to learn on your own, you can write this down. If you want to learn on your own, I would recommend you check, um first of all, you can check Catch Art, AESAALT on YouTube. He teaches a lot about drawing and cartoons and illustrations. Then we have Kayla Designs. She teaches about illustrations too. Then another place that teaches about illustrations a lot is Geneza School of Design. They have an illustration course, which one of the courses I took when I was starting my illustration career, and it's very extensive and intensive. Like it's a lot covers a lot of things, like covers almost everything around illustration, including icons. And there's even a final project for you to work on at the end of the it is at the end of the course. So Geneza School, and it's quite affordable. Geneza School of Design. Also Sintera, though they've started their class already. Sintera School of the Central Fellowship, though they've started their new course already, you could wait till they start again so you can learn illustration. But you don't have to always wait. You can always check on YouTube. Another place you can check out for illustration course is, I don't know of any other school that uses illustration, but people that can teach you illustration personally, you can check out Ufot Ubon. He also has some tutorials on his YouTube page. You can check out Liz Agbola. Liz Agbola is an illustrator. She's an illustrator for Chowdick, and she does really great work. You can check out her page. I think she also teaches. Then we have Yellow Yemi on Instagram. She's a great illustrator. Like she does beautiful artworks. And other illustrators I know of is Leye Connect. Leye does illustrations very well. And I hope you can, from these people, you get to also meet more illustrators. One thing about learning is that when you connect with one person that does something, from that person you connected with, you get to have access to other people that do that thing. I hope I was able to answer your question, Chidima.
Very well. You gave us a lot, like a lot. All right. So from all you've said, it's clear that you don't really have to be into tech. You know, when we talk about tech, everybody's mind goes to all them coding and developers and the rest. But illustration is also part of tech, and you don't really have to be so techy like you. It just had to take your interest in cartoons for you to venture into this part of tech. And that is one thing I want to leave with our audience. If you love tech and you want to go into tech, you don't really have to look too deeply. You can just look around your passion or the things you love to do, and then you find a way to bring tech into it, and you are good to go. We've been talking with Ofon Bassey, and she has just done justice to this topic. She's giving us the most simplified introduction to illustration. So next time when you hear illustration somewhere, you actually know what is being spoken about. Thank you so much, Ofon, for being on this session. We appreciate you despite the um network issues.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much. We want to wish you a wonderful evening, and we appreciate you for being here. Have a nice evening.
Same here. Thank you. Have a nice evening too. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. Bye. All right, everyone, that's it for today's edition of Tech Clinic. We hope you join us on Friday for another interesting topic. Like I said earlier, tech is the future. So you just have to find a way of getting into tech. It doesn't have to be the complex aspect of tech. as simple as illustration, cartooning is, it's also part of tech, and you can solve the problem with that. Thank you everyone who has joined us for this session. Till we meet again on Friday. I mean your moderator. My name is Chidima and it's good to be here. Thank you so much for joining us once again. Have a lovely evening and bye for now.